Have you ever pondered how many words we have for dry and not dry? Well, you're in for a treat. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of synonyms and antonyms, specifically those for the word dry. Let's start with dry. One synonym is arid, which refers to something that is extremely dry, often used to describe deserts or barren landscapes. For instance, you could say the desert is so arid not even cacti can survive. Next up is desiccated. This word often refers to food that has had all its moisture removed. For example, you might find a recipe that calls for 100 grams of desiccated coconut. Baked is another synonym, but this one is a bit different. It's often used to describe something that has been dried or hardened by heat. Think about a baked potato. It's not wet, it's dry. Then we have parched. This word is often used to describe something that is dry because it needs water, like a parched plant, or as you might say, my lips were parched after an hour in the sun. Finally, dehydrated. This word is typically used in a medical context or when talking about the body, as in, after the marathon, she was severely dehydrated. Now let's flip the coin and talk about words that mean not dry. We'll start with damp. This word describes something that is slightly wet, like when you touch the grass in the morning and find it still damp from the dew. Moist is another word for slightly wet, often used when talking about soil or cake. For example, keep the soil in the pot moist, but not too wet. Humid describes the feeling in the air when it's full of moisture. For instance, New York is very hot and humid in the summer. Saturated refers to something that is completely wet, like a sponge soaked in water. You might say, the drainage system prevents the soil from becoming saturated. Immersed is a more specific term, meaning something is under the surface of a liquid. For example, the cells should be immersed in boiling water for 2 minutes. Our final word for not dry is soaked, which describes something that is extremely wet, like when you step in a puddle and your shoes get soaked. So, there you have it, a dozen words to describe dry and not dry. The English language is full of such nuances, making it an exciting and endless journey of discovery. The more words we know, the more precisely we can express ourselves. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep expanding your vocabulary.